The cars are set on the grid for what promises to be a thrilling contest here in Baku. Hold on tight then, it's race day for the European Grand Prix. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. Joining me on this very wet day is a man who's no stranger to driving in miserable conditions. Anthony Davidson, you've driven open cockpit, you've driven sports cars. How does the wet weather experience change between the different disciplines?
Well, I wouldn't say there's much difference in all honesty. You know, besides the terrifying closing speeds you find in sports cars with the different categories all sharing the same track, driving in the rain is, well, driving in the rain. Of course, the biggest difference between the two is the closed cockpit versus the open cockpit. You get the luxury of staying dry in the sports car, but if your screen ever gets dirty, well, that's a pit stop, not just wiping your visor or pulling away a tear off. But most of the time, you know, they're both as miserable as each other, to be honest.
Lots of cars on the track today. We've set you a target of 21st or higher. With a bit of luck, you should be able to beat that.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Nico Rosberg alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid we have Vettel, Raikkonen, Max Verstappen and Ricciardo, Alonso, Massa, Bottas and Nico Hülkenberg, Grosjean, Perez, Daniel Kvyat and Magnussen, Sainz, Button, Esteban Gutierrez and Marcus Ericsson, Palmer and Nasser, Pascal Wehrlein and Rio Haryanto completes the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
You're in P10. Nasser is ahead of you. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now. Just 3 laps to go now. 3 laps. We're seeing minor damage to the front wing. Be easy on the car till we get it repaired. We don't want to risk making this worse. You've knocked the front wing. The damage only looks minor, but you'll need to take it easy to avoid making the problem worse. Okay, the boots aren't looking too worn at this point. We should have plenty of life left in them. Let's make sure we keep managing them properly. There's less tyre deg than we feared. They should last a while. P7 now. P7. Ricardo ahead. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. is less than a second. They're on fresh inters. The time last lap was a 2-minute 19.5. This is your final lap of the race. Fantastic. You've won the Grand Prix.
A great win then for the Manor team today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, Crofty, this was won through an abundance of speed and an abundance of skillful overtakes. Inside, outside, cutting underneath, we saw it all today. And it's really nice to see a Grand Prix won in that manner. A race, surely, that will satisfy the purists today, I think.
And I can see our drivers making their way out now. It's been an incredible performance and the culmination of a huge amount of effort. Manor Racing are your winners today. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Rio Haryanto takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Moving on to the driver of the day then. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for? And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the Drivers' Table. Rio Haryanto takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
I'm giving driver of the day to Rio Haryanto. He's pushed and he's found some fantastic performance. He was an absolute pleasure to watch today.
After all that excitement, it's time for a lie down, I think. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye until the next race.